I'm going to tell you why you're probably not getting the best footage out of your Pocket 3 and how to go about doing that. And I'm putting this thing through its paces as we speak here. I'm trying to get my full in-depth review out here, but I wanted to touch base on why, if you just got this thing out of the box, you're probably not getting the best footage, even if you're in beautiful bright light like this. And to be honest, that's exactly the problem. Let me explain. This camera has a fixed f2 aperture, which means it's not variable. You can't stop down, so there's only a few adjustments that you can do to this camera in the manual settings. Now, because of this, if you just throw this thing on auto right out of the box, you're gonna have a shutter speed in something like this of about 4,000. Now, typically, if you're shooting at 24 or 30 frames per second, you wanna have your shutter speed at about double that. So about a 50th or a 60th of a second. Now, 4,000 is gonna give you some pretty questionable results in a lot of situations. So how do we combat this? Well, of course, we wanna have our ISO as low as possible, which in this case is 50. But if you throw it on auto, it's not always gonna nail that. And I find that even in very bright conditions like this, it's gonna pump it up a little bit, which we don't want. The higher the ISO, the worse the image quality and the more noise we have. Now again, because our aperture is fixed, it's the shutter speed that's gonna be the most variable here. But we wanna keep it low, otherwise we're gonna get some weird looking footage. Now, as you know, the dynamic range of the 1-inch sensor has been vastly improved, but we still wanna have great results. The answer here is sunglasses. Well, kinda. As you can see, I'm not wearing sunglasses and it's very bright on my eyes. There's a lot of light being brought in, just like the sensor. So the answer here for me would be sunglasses, but for the camera, it would be neutral density filters. Now, this is basically sunglasses for this little camera that you throw on to compensate and bring that shutter speed down to ideally a 50th or a 60th of a second, depending on the frame rate that you're shooting. And this is gonna give you a lot better looking footage. Now, this might seem complicated, but it's pretty easy, and once you get the hang of it, you won't think twice. So in this case, I just wanna let you know, guys, that having neutral density filters on this camera, or any camera for that matter, is going to make a massive difference in the quality of your video. Now, in this case, if you are a bit disappointed, or if you're finding that there's certain instances in high contrast or bright sun that you're not getting the best footage, this is exactly why. So I thought I'd just do a quick video explaining that for you and give you some options. Now, of course, DJI does sell them at about, I think, 60 or 70 US dollars, which is expensive for, I think, 2 or 3 little ND filters, but there are gonna be some kits coming out soon that are gonna offer a way better value. Freewell is a company that definitely offers great value for the money, and you might have to wait a little bit here if you're buying this thing right at launch, but I promise you this is gonna make a huge difference to your overall footage. This is definitely something to consider, and I am a little bit bummed that it doesn't come with the creator combo because, well, it is a pricey camera, and although it's been improved in a lot of ways, that ND filter set would have been really nice to have right about now. So if you just turn this thing on and start shooting, it's gonna be on auto. So if you go into your pro settings and select your shutter speed, bringing it down can make a big difference. Of course, you wanna have everything balanced because the aperture is fixed. You wanna have that ISO as low as possible. So I suggest go in there and pick the lowest ISO that you can based on your scene. Yes, it's kind of a pain, and you can choose ISO if there's clouds or something and the light is constantly changing. But if you're in a fixed control position, always pick the lowest ISO possible. And that just leaves your shutter speed. Because of today's conditions, I'm shooting at about 1/1250th of a second just to keep things properly exposed. But as you can see, it might not look very good.
And here we are in a controlled environment back in the studio. I have 2 lights here and we're shooting at ISO 50 and now at 1/50th of a second. So you can see how dramatic of a difference that makes. And of course, with a bit better controlled lighting, you can actually make it look pretty darn good. So again, I'll let you be the judge as always, but let me know what you think of the comparison between the fixed controlled studio lighting with a lower shutter speed, and if you can actually tell the difference between being out there in harsh sun at a shutter speed of well over 1/1000th of a second. So there is a massive difference there. Again, when you are in controlled lighting, you have much more flexibility, but when you're outside in very harsh contrasty environments, you're probably gonna wanna have some ND filters. So I hope this makes sense and it shone a little bit of light on maybe an issue that you're having. And if you're wondering why your footage doesn't look super great, if you're not using ND filters, well, now you know. Consider picking them up and make sure you check out my full in-depth review coming up here on the Pocket 3. I got all my gear and affiliate links down in the description, guys. If you want to see anything specific on this camera, drop it down in the comments. Thanks so much for watching. If you did like it, if you got value out of this video, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. And like always, make mistakes, be yourself, and get out there and take some more pictures. See you next time.